All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Curry County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's March 5th at 6 p.m. I will call the meeting to order here in Port Orford, and I want to just say thank you, take a minute to say thank you to the City of Port Orford for allowing us to use this wonderful building and this great room. We really appreciate it. And I think you've heard Commissioner Hollinger say many times that we're going to take our show on the road and try to get out in our community more frequently to hold these meetings, and we appreciate the opportunity to have it here this evening. Commissioner Hollinger, as you can see, is not here. He is traveling back from Washington, D.C. He's, I believe, on a plane right now or about to land, so he's not able to join us. This meeting is not a live meeting. It is being recorded, and Natasha will facilitate getting that out to the public as soon as she can. So that being said, we will begin the meeting by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, amendment and approval of the agenda. I have a couple of things to add on the consent agenda. One is a higher order for Gavin Wren. And
that'd be D.
Yeah, that would be D. And then we have an out-of-class order for finance. That would be E. And then another reclassification for finance, for carry and finance, that would be F. And those are adjustments being made based on our finance director's absence. And then, since we have our presentation first from Aquatic Safety, I think we can probably remove discussion item 8 and cover all that in the presentation.
Okay.
That's what I have.
I have one that came up today. It's nothing that we really need to take action on, but it's probably worthy of some discussion. It's regarding the Senator Merkley's been working to try to get a redesignation for the Smith River, increased designation to the Smith River for to increase the wild and scenic to the Oregon side. I'm trying to pull it up right now so I can give you the actual wording. Anyways, can we add that to discussion?
Let's just replace it. We'll put it at 8. 8A.
On discussion items?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you want to call it?
I'm pulling that up. Smith River National Recreation Area Expansion Act. For some reason, my computer doesn't want to move.
Okay, we'll put that at 8A. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Then is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
And I second it. All in favor?
Yes?
And yes, motion passes 2-0.
Should probably be noted, obviously, everybody here can see visually that Commissioner Hollinger's not in attendance today. He's traveling, so otherwise that's why he can't attend by phone either. Okay.
I already said that.
Oh, did you?
Thanks for
Sorry.
clarifying that.
Well, it's good to hear it twice.
It is. All right.
He's having a good trip.
Next up is a presentation from Aquatic Safety. Luke? And if you guys aren't familiar with aquatic safety, Luke probably saves more people each year in this county than anyone else. He does an incredible job, as does his program with education and safety, and we appreciate you. So, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alcorn. Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners, and to the City of Port Orford for this opportunity to present on the Curry County Aquatic Safety Program. As we enter our 5th year of operation under the county, we would like to take this time to reflect on our past year of work and where we are headed. The program has operated under the mission of providing outreach, education, visitor services, and response when needed to those recreating and visiting along our shorelines and waterways, as well as providing water safety education to youth throughout our region. Our goal to provide an exemplary public service to ultimately reduce injury and/or death along our waterways and shorelines. Currently, the program is staffed by 1 full-time aquatic safety officer, myself. While the program has conducted its work with 1 staff member, it has relied on its fellow county departments and collaborative partners for support. From maintenance to building, to juvenile, to finance, to roads, IT, economic development, the sheriff's office, to the assessor's office, to the Board of Commissioners' office, and beyond, each department within the county has shown support and guidance. We continue to be proud to be part of a team of very hardworking and resilient civil servants. To our collaborative partners, the Oregon State Marine Board, the National Weather Service, Oregon State Parks and Recreation Division, the U.S. Forest Service, the U.S. Coast Guard, our local and regional tourism partners and destination management organizations, local municipal police and fire departments, sheriff departments, Oregon State Police, California State Parks Lifeguard Division, and our emergency management organizations, we thank you for your support and coordination in providing services. From the beginning of the program, as well as this past year, we have operated under grants and other funding for program work, projects, and equipment. Thank you to our sustainable funders, Travel Curry Coast, and the Oregon State Marine Board under the Boating Safety Advocate Contract. We have also received grants this year from the Humboldt Area Foundation and Wild Rivers Community Foundation, the Oregon State Marine Board Small Grant, the City of Gold Beach, the Oregon Community Foundation, the Tolowa Dee Nation, the Coquille Tribal Fund, and the Curry Health Foundation. We have focused this year on enhancing our sustainability. Curry County is an expansive, pristine, and rugged territory. It hosts the largest area in square miles of rivers, lakes, and streams within a county in the entire state of Oregon. It also hosts one of the longest stretches of coastline within a county at over 100 miles long. In 2024, Harris Beach State Park saw over 1.5 million visitors, being the most visited state park in Oregon for the 2nd year in a row. Other areas like Samuel Boardman State Park corridor, specifically natural bridges, saw visitation peaks during the summer months that doubled the steady stream seen at Harris Beach. The state park's projected yearly visitation data suggests a steady or increasing trend for the region, reinforcing the need for strategic planning and resource management, which would include our services to visitors and recreationists. 2024 also saw other trends seen nationally mirror here, with recreational boating and surfing being 2 of the fastest growing sports in the nation, behind, of course, pickleball. In 2024, the program made thousands of contacts, educating close to 8,000 people recreating and visiting along our shorelines and waterways. The year also saw an increase in preventative actions. For the past 3 years, we have been averaging around 200 preventative actions a year. This year was closer to 300. We also saw an increase in situational responses or rescues. Most preventative actions and responses occurred during beach hazard statements, such as high surf, sneaker wave, coastal flooding, and tsunami warnings and advisories issued by the National Weather Service Medford office. The program has continued to prioritize being on call and patrolling our shorelines during these events, as most of those we are making contacts with are visiting from outside the area. The other portion of contacts, preventative actions, and responses have been on our waterways such as the Rogue and Checo that see high use during the spring, summer, and fall months with recreational boaters, fishermen, and swimmers. This year, we also had the most drownings to occur in a year in recent memory. They all occurred within a month period and within 30 miles of each other, 2 of them being a week apart and almost in the exact same location. All drownings occurred on the Rogue River. Our deepest, sincere condolences to those families still reeling from their losses. Prevention and mitigation through education and resource support was a priority in 2024. Smaller projects like life jacket loaner stations at Boyce Cope, Flores Lake, and Lobster Creek Campground on the Rogue River were installed for boating and water safety measures. We also improved on providing support and training to our regional and statewide first responders through local trainings and through assisting with the Oregon State Marine Board's law enforcement and first responder trainings. We provided opportunities for our local outdoor recreationists, boaters, and guides to further their knowledge on first aid, CPR, and water safety. We continued to focus on providing our water safety classes to youth, educating over 2,500 students in 5 different school districts in Curry and Coos counties. We also continued our collaborative partnership with the Send After School program, providing on-the-water experiences to youth grades 6 through 8. One of our biggest successes has been the development and continuation of our open water junior lifeguard program. This is the first and only program of its type in the state of Oregon. In 2024, we hosted 2 week-long sessions at Port Beach and Battle Rock in Port Orford, and at Harris Beach in Brookings. Both sessions saw around 40 participants and 10 aides ages 9 to 17. This program teaches youth about ocean safety awareness, life-saving skills, first aid and CPR, and focuses on improving open water skills. It also acts as our workforce development program, providing youth with opportunities to build up through the program. We are excited to be able to add an additional session at Sunset Bay State Park in 2025. We are extremely grateful to the California State Parks Open Water Lifeguard Division, their North Coast sector, for their continued support and assistance. The program is aimed to not only be a leader for water safety in the region, but act as a model of service for the entire Oregon coast. With our expansive territory and continual increase in visitation and outdoor recreation, how to build capacity has been a constant thought. In August of 2024, I was approached by an individual who had been volunteering at our junior lifeguard program for the last 2 summers. As a current enlisted U.S. Coast Guard member, he educated me on a program that allowed active service members to intern at qualified and approved programs or businesses for up to 6 months of their remaining service time at no cost to the internship provider. This program allows active service members to gain the necessary skills of their desired workforce with the intention of placement into the workforce at the end of the internship. Under guidance from the Director of Operations and through collaboration with Master Chief Widows of the U.S. Coast Guard Station Checo River, the program applied to host an intern through the Department of Defense SkillBridge program. It is my honor, with the Board of Commissioners' approval tonight, of the Department of Defense SkillBridge internship program to introduce Declan Debler to the Curry County Aquatic Safety Program with his internship beginning May 15th, 2025. Declan. I would also, at this time, he wasn't able to make it tonight, like to recognize Master Chief Widows for his outstanding career of 25 years with the U.S. Coast Guard. Master Chief Widows has been stationed at the U.S. Coast Guard Station Checo River for the last 4 years and has been instrumental in providing water safety to the region. We thank you for your service, sir. Again, thank you, commissioners, for your time tonight, and I appreciate your support in this next phase of our program development. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Don't go nowhere.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. First off, Declan, welcome. This is going to be an amazing addition to the aquatic safety crew. Yeah, you've grown by 100% now.
Thank you.
Couple of things. First, I just want to say, number one, if folks here haven't been able to see it or participate in it, the Junior Life program, he runs one up here and he runs one down off of Harris Beach as well. I just want to say it is an incredible program. Obviously you guys make it what it is, but those kids become so much more confident, especially in open water. I watched just growth. And so I want to thank you for that program. I believe, correct me, only junior
correct.
lifeguard program
State of Oregon.
in the state of Oregon?
We have our partners to the south in Humboldt County have the northern, they're the ones that we're pretty much mimicking and been our partners and helped us grow it.
I think we should feel very gracious that we have that here because, obviously our kids live in the water. They're either in the rivers or in the oceans, but we don't have access generally to a year-round pool for lessons and stuff. So it's pretty instrumental for our community. The other thing I just wanted to say is you got the floor. If you could say to the community, whether they're traveling here or they live here, the three most important things that they need to be aware of when going into open waters for their own safety, what would it be?
You really put me on the spot, didn't you? So most of the people we make contacts with in our region are visitors. We've seen increasing visitation rates, I guess, the last decade or so through a lot of the different data. When people come to my region or our region, a lot of times they're coming from Colorado, Utah, Arizona, a lot of inland states where they've never seen the ocean before. So we do spend a lot of time educating them that it's some days people will show up on our beach and they'll think a 20-foot day is just a normal day, which it is maybe for us locals, but it's not for recreating. I would say that people nowadays, the National Weather Service has a pretty astute warning system. So when they put out beach hazard statements, especially high surf warnings, take them seriously because those are pretty extreme days on our ocean shorelines. I'd also like to tell people to reach out. A lot of times, talking to locals, speaking to people that are recreating on the beach that live there, usually have a lot of good information. I tell people now we're doubling. So if you see me, if you see the aquatic safety truck, please come talk to us because we can advise you on whatever conditions there are for the day. There are a lot of resources out there for people to look up, but a lot of times people they don't know. And that's the whole point of the program is being that boots on the ground presence to letting people know what's going on out in their environment. I got two things there.
Yeah, so get a tide chart or download an app. Understand where the tides are.
Yeah, tides are huge. Thank you. See, he's on it. Yeah, tides are huge too. Just know before you go. I say this a lot. Know before you go. You can check your tides. You can check the conditions. Check the weather. If there's warnings, that's something to stay focused on. Check your flows. If you're getting on our rivers, check your flows, and just always wear your life jacket. That's another thing. The state every year. We average around 20 drownings a year for the state for boating-related fatalities, and 90% of those are people just not wearing life jackets. So it's just like a seatbelt. Just put it on. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Is that number 3?
That was it. Well done.
Thank you, commissioners, for your time. Is there any other questions?
No.
Okay. Great job. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move forward in the agenda, and next up is public comments. So first up in our public comments is Bob Morrow.
Thank you so much for coming up here. Oh, Bob Morrow, Langlois resident. I really want to thank you for making the trip up to Port Orford. It's nice to get a full day's worth of work in and get to visit with the Board of Commissioners, so thank you very much. I also wanted to thank you for the last meeting in Gold Beach where you removed the resolution from the agenda. I'm not sure what your plans are going forward there, but hopefully it stays removed forever. While you're up here in this neck of the woods, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pacific High Forest. I know that when I saw you here the last time, Ashley had a very good presentation that you obviously gravitated to. And a couple of components of that may have been lost in the wash. First of all was the designated housing that was going to be considered for the north sector. Apparently there was actually some grants available for that. I'm not sure what the status is there, if you have the bandwidth or manpower to pursue that. Secondly was the suggestion that that entire area actually become a point for earning some income for the county by turning it into a green burial site. It's another idea that, again, seemed to create some enthusiasm from the commissioners that I think I'd like to see if you are actually pursuing that as well. And on the more mundane side, have the trees actually been ordered for that, and when is the timing for the planting of those? The final component that's, I think, might help the income of the county again is the land swap that has been percolating for McVeigh Park down in Brookings with the property that you have in Flores, on Flores Lake. I know that land swap led to the travesty at Pacific High Forest, but I think it's a good opportunity to even perhaps swap land that the state has elsewhere if you are really interested in becoming foresters. Thank you again for coming up to Port Orford.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
And is it Shimmer?
Yeah, very good. Ooh, this chair is low. Okay. My name is Ann Schmier. I'm a resident of Port Orford, and I regret I haven't been able to get away from work to attend the previous meetings that have been held concerning logging in the National Forest. Since I've not been able to see a feasibility plan or a map of potential logging areas in the National Forest, I'm here to remind you of some of the broader implications and potential impacts to forests and forest management practices that you should consider in your feasibility plan. Harvesting timber will impact other resources and infrastructure, and I want to make sure you have all these included in your management responsibilities. Some of these other resources and responsibilities are road maintenance, invasive weed management on federal lands. Both of these would be on federal lands. Expansion of our responsibilities. Water resources for communities, management of water and habitat for fisheries, as well as potential litigation, because I believe this might be unlawful activity. For roads and invasive weeds, since the U.S. Forest Service budgets and personnel are being slashed, it's highly likely the maintenance of roads on public lands will decrease or cease altogether. Do you have adequate financial resources to maintain federal roads in addition to county roads to ensure trucks can safely navigate these road systems? If those road systems are not maintained, access to areas may not be possible or safe. Do you have the necessary personnel to maintain both county and federal roads? I suggest you consider a sizable road budget and personnel if you plan to log in the national forest. In terms of water resources, where will you log, and will this impact any community water resources? Here in Port Orford, we have had the privilege of being able to secure much of our forested watershed to ensure that we have a sustainable water source, and to eliminate the possibility of sedimentation that would occur on logged lands. Have you done any assessment to determine if any community watersheds would be impacted? Logging is also known to negatively impact fish habitat, specifically spawning and rearing habitat for salmonids. Have you considered ways to mitigate the impact of roads, erosion, landslides, and logging activities on sediment introduction into regional streams and rivers? Let me be clear, salmon runs are at a critical point. If we continue to mismanage our lands, we will lose these very important species and resources. Healthy salmon runs are critically important to healthy forests, as they bring necessary nutrients back into the forests for trees to grow. If you have not considered any of these in your plan, are you willing to look commercial fishermen, fishing guides, sport fishers in the eye and tell them that logging in the national forest to fill county coffers is a higher priority than sustaining the sustainability of salmon runs that support many independent businesses in our county? And lastly, I believe this action is not lawful. This sets up our county for future litigation as a result of logging in the national forest. Do you have adequate financial resources to protect our county from future litigation? Again, I'm very concerned that our county has no experience in the business of logging, and I echo Bob Morrow's desire to permanently remove this from the commissioner's agenda. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming to Port Orford.
Thank you, Ann. Clark, you're next.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Clark Kusurik. I live in the urban growth boundary outside of Port Orford, and I would like to first of all say thank you for coming up here tonight. I realize it is a long and somewhat treacherous journey, so thank you. Most of the time when you see me, I'm here to tell you please don't do something, and tonight I get to do the opposite, and I'm thrilled about that. So I'm here to voice my support this evening for Agenda Item 7A, which would raise the transient lodging tax in Curry County. I think that is a wonderful idea. We clearly have a very special place here in terms of visitation and recreation, and I think that this is an opportunity for our many, according to Mr. Martinez earlier, our growing number of visitors to help fund and protect our treasured county and natural resources. So I think that is an appropriate and wise expansion of the TLT tax, and I commend you for considering it and trying to move that forward. Since I have a couple minutes left, I'd also like to voice my support for item 8B, which would adjust the tower fees for CFPA. They are, a very important fire and first responder agency for us here in Curry County, and I also commend you for considering how to make that less onerous on them to respond to emergencies in our county. Finally, item 8C, I see Commissioner Hollinger is not here this evening, but there is a discussion item for Natural Resource Advisory Committee. I did see a recording. I wasn't able to attend, but it sounds like Commissioner Trost learned that there is a way to work with existing agencies using this Natural Resource Advisory Committee, and I think that is a much wiser and more judicious option than trying to do jurisdictional grabs with dubious sort of fringe interpretations of county authority. So, with that in mind, thank you for coming. I'm supportive of 7A, 8B, and I think 8C is on at least a better track. I also encourage you to remove Mr. Shamley's proposals from your future agendas. I think that there is a way forward. I don't think that that is the right one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clark. Kirk, you're next. Finally getting to know you guys by first name now.
Uh-oh. Commissioners, thank you. First, I appreciate your holding this meeting in Port Orford and showing your intent to discuss the formation of a Community Natural Resources Advisory Committee, as recommended in past public comments. As those commenters stated, the community input would be useful in weighing the costs and the perceived benefits of moving forward with a public lands emergency declaration, as well as for all hazard reduction plans. As part of a community committed to protect both our private and public lands, you could facilitate making our community wildfire safe through implementing a coordinated plan between our government, agencies, districts, associations, with your support and leadership of the Curry County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We understand that a community wildfire protection plan is a means of bringing local solutions to wildland fire management. In developing and implementing the plan, communities assume a leadership role in reducing wildfire risk on public and private lands in our county, as well as a coordinated hazard reduction and response on federal and state lands, a stated goal of your draft Declaration of Local Emergency. Therefore, a review by the Commission of the current plan status and the plan's next step objectives would allow us to organize community support. This plan was developed in 2023 under the leadership of the Curry County Office of Emergency Response and all area community fire districts. Areas of responsibility and authority are delineated between county government, districts, and citizens, and provides funding sources and links to over 30 state and federal agencies with over $220 million to fund fire-resilient communities. Steps are included in the plan for county engagement of citizens and individuals with the purpose of dispersing and sharing the responsibility for fire safety at all levels of the community. County actions and sustained leadership is required. Favorably, Curry County has been given high priority to grant funding with federally recognized high-risk hazard ratings and recognition of local revenue limitations. Providing sound county leadership, utilizing existing plans and funding sources aimed at locally prioritized objectives and actions should provide a plan for good governance and increased public safety. A good start would be an update by the Commission of the plan status to the community. I have suggested, provided links to the plan, and thank you for your engagement and consideration of my request.
Thank you. Mayor?
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Ann Velisis, and I'm a resident of Port Orford. And I want to begin by welcoming you to Port Orford and thanking you, like everyone else, for coming up here. We really appreciate it. As you can tell, we're an engaged part of the county. I want to thank you, echoing some other comments, for not moving forward with those emergency resolutions that would have assumed authority over federal lands. Really appreciate that that's not moving forward at this time. And I wanted to also say about the idea to form a natural resources committee. I think it's a good idea. I've lived here for about 23 years, and we've had them come and go before these committees, but they've always been very representative of different interests in the county, including tribes, conservation, timber, recreation, watershed councils. And so I hope that whatever you do, you would strive to have that kind of broad representation in whatever you would do. I will mention that the existing Forest Collaborative does have that kind of breadth of different people engaged. So anyway, that could be giving some ideas. And lastly, since you brought this up on the agenda just at the beginning of the meeting, Senator Merkley's Smith River natural recreation area expansion bill, I just want to mention that I would be supportive of this bill, and also that conservation initiative is something that former county commissions of Curry County and Del Norte County have supported in the past. And I would also ask you, I've talked to, I think, both you commissioners individually about another conservation bill, which is the Southwestern Oregon Watershed and Salmon Protection Act, which would help to protect not only the headwaters of the North Fork Smith, but also Hunter Creek, Pistol River, and the Illinois River. So I would love to have the opportunity to tell you guys more about both of those bills, but just wanted to bring that up, that they have wide support and have been supported by past county commissions for quite some time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Brett Cecil.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brett Cecil. I live in the urban growth boundary in Port Orford, so I am a county resident. Tonight, I just wanted to thank you, as everyone else has, for coming to Port Orford this evening. I also wanted to thank you for, it seems that the meeting agendas are coming out earlier. So I know we had a period where they were coming out barely the day before, 36 hours notice. It wasn't given we as citizens much of an opportunity to get involved. Another point that I wanted to bring up, I am currently the chair of the Curry County Democrats. I'm also a principal member of Indivisible North Curry County. And we've been working diligently as groups communicating with our members to make sure that they're aware of our county commissioners meetings, and we're trying to turn out citizens so that we can be more informed and help you know what our needs are in the county. So we look forward to doing that in the future, and please do stay in touch. Let us know if there's what we can do to help you get out the word in any of your events that you're doing. And we'll continue in that same vein. So again, thank you for the earlier notice and getting the agendas out. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. All right, Chris, it's your turn.
Chris Viverberg, Port Orford. Join everyone else in thanking you for taking the time to be here today with those of us in the north, and your visit is very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank you for listening to and deferring to your constituents when their voices were raised on February 5th, again on the 12th, and most recently on the 18th, in overwhelming opposition to your two proposed emergency declarations in response to the wildfire hazard map and to the county's purported need to invoke the police powers of the state in order to assume constitutional management authority over all state and federal public forest lands in Curry County. Lastly, the Commission, having deferred action for the time being on these declarations, I would appreciate hearing from you your intentions and any commitments you've made regarding these declarations going forward, if at all. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Aaron Miller.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I'm not going to be the first one to not say thank you. We really do appreciate having you here in our community and being a part of what we're doing and trying to move forward here in Port Orford, Langlois, and North County. I also want to thank you for your continuing support of our schools. and the potential for moving forward with some projects on the property that you all are in charge of across from our high school. We are doing some great things in our schools. We have a lot of good programs going on, and one of the things that we really try to focus on is anchoring our students in their community, finding ways for them to have real-life opportunities to prepare them for life and their futures. And we see that property across from our high school campus as an opportunity to do that. We have students in horticulture classes, in career and technical education classes, welding shop, woods. I believe there's some opportunity there for us to have our students help do some planning with what happens with the natural resource side of things, the interpretive trail, if that's what you end up doing with it, and also putting together some opportunities for us to raise plants, install plants, do some work with the interpretive trails, anything at all that would help and involve our students in real life activities and moving that project forward. The other piece that I would like to share with you and thank you for is continuing to look at the 4 acres of that parcel as a potential housing site for teachers. I had a conversation today with Commissioner Fitzgerald, and we discussed the potential that there could be opportunities for teachers. It could be something for county workers. We have a lot of professionals in the county that are not always able to find affordable housing and be here to help us do the work we need to. So we really want to be involved in that project, help move it forward. I know the next steps are in your court, but if there's anything at all that we can do as a district and me as superintendent to help move that forward, we'd really like to throw our support and do what we can. So thank you very much for being here. Thanks for listening, and thanks for all you do for our schools and our community.
Thanks, Aaron.
Oh, one other thing.
Sure.
I have a district newsletter that we do put out, and just a little information about what we're doing.
Awesome, awesome.
Also, we left out that they, at this school, they even raised goats. I mean, this is my kind of school. Very excited.
And I'm just gonna correct the record a little bit. You were referred to as a commissioner. You're actually
I
the
could never be elected as a commissioner. in
director
this
of
county.
county operations, and if I don't make that correction, I'll hear about it. I'll hear about it via email multiple times tomorrow, so, director of operations. Next up is Ashley.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ashley Moore. I am a resident of Sixes, and for once, I don't have a lot to say. I wanted to thank you profusely for coming up to Port Orford and show my support in this action. I hope that it continues more than once every 14 months or so. We obviously like having you here. We like to come to the meetings. Brookings is really far for us. So thank you for that. I would also like to show my support for agenda item 7A as well. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think diversifying, finding funding options is the way to go, and that's a really great first step. Wholeheartedly agree. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks, Ashley. Kim, you're the last one tonight.
Oh my gosh. I'll try to be quick. Kim Foster, Port Orford, UGB. Thank you again for venturing north. I know that it's can be a journey some days. I'm speaking with 2 hats tonight. So the first hat that I put on is for Port Orford Main Street in support of agenda item 7A. As someone deeply involved in promoting local tourism, thank you for raising the TLT funds. I think our county needs all the help it can get. And I believe the opportunity cost of slightly higher lodging taxes is well worth the benefits. So I don't, foresee too many negative consequences of that. Second hat, I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Port Orford Watershed Council. While the wildfire emergency resolutions are mercifully not on tonight's agenda, thank you, the issues surrounding fire risk mitigation and the county's broader approach to land management remain of great concern to many in our community. And I just want to take a brief moment to highlight, in particular, the critical role that federal grants and agreements play in supporting our local economy, particularly through the Curry Soil and Water Conservation District. The recent freezing of these funds is, right now is actively harming our local industries and landowners, as well as wildfire prevention efforts. It's stalling essential projects that keep our land productive and our homes and our businesses safe. These programs are not bureaucratic waste. They are direct investments in our infrastructure. And from fire breaks to salmon restoration, rural road maintenance, culvert replacement, and critically in North County, gorse removal. Really important. Without these projects, our county faces economic losses and dramatically increased wildfire risks. So I do hope that the board will consider advocating for the continuation of federal investments in programs like this that benefit rural Oregonians and carry these concerns to the highest levels of government. I also look forward to seeing this board prioritize community-led solutions that align with best practices and legal precedent and our current ecological and economic reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is commissioner comments. Jay?
Well, just a couple of, there were some direct questions I think that we may or may not have suitable answers to. The Bob was one of the first ones. So Bob, I just wanted, obviously you heard from Superintendent Miller about they had a discussion today regarding the land up there and working towards looking at the original idea, which was the north end being identified for housing and the south end being restored for habitat and nature trails, and then the green burial idea hasn't been lost on us. So just wanted to touch base on those things. I will say, so there was some discussion about this early on when we were first looking at this. There were some grant opportunities. Those were shovel ready situations. So we actually walked with some developers. There's an area that the Brookings School District has that's developable. We looked at this piece, and then there was some walking on the Lone Ranch property, right? So but what I do understand is that grant cycle for shovel-ready projects has been an annual reoccurring grant based on the governor's agenda. So it was a state grant. So I saw that they just re-released. There would be the 25-26 grant opportunity. But again, we have to get to a shovel-ready period. So there's some work to do there. However, that piece of property is a big piece of discussion for the Coos Curry Housing Authority and the Coos Curry Douglas Business Development as looking for funds and resources to get some of those projects. Like, even if they can help with some of the planning and pieces out the gate, it is going to require some zoning work and things of that nature. So, however, if we can get some assistance from some of those organizations to get those planning pieces going, that will be big. Because I do believe that if we do have a shovel-ready project, we will find funding. I think that is a priority, and I think it's something that we can really shoot towards. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that was our discussion that we had with Mr. Miller today. Basically, as far as, in my experience, you do a lot better if you're ready to go. And
Got a plan.
So what I was gonna do is get the road department up there, and we'll get the stumps pulled, we'll we'll get it graded for this is the part on the north side of the road where the housing's gonna go. Get it graded, and then you'll have something that you can move forward with.
Right.
There's some other issues that one of the concerns that I think Ashley had mentioned to, Rabia was the potential issues with soils and whether septic would be feasible. And I was made aware that, I didn't realize this, but Pacific High School has its own, it does have its own sewer system. It's got a pond on the other side. Now, I mean, it wouldn't be an act of Congress to get to bore underneath the highway if we were doing it as a part of a grant that would, so I think that's a really great opportunity because the system that they have over there, they're looking for funding right now to rehabilitate that. So I think I'm looking forward to working with everybody on that and seeing if we can come out with a really great kind of dual outcome.
Right.
So
Win-win there.
I love working on sewer systems. Can't help it.
Well, that was, I mean, obviously, everybody in this room understood that was gonna be one of the biggest obstacles on this project. And so to know that's there, that's great. And then, Chris, you had a direct question at the end that I didn't write down. Do you mind reiterating that question?
It wasn't clear to me from the past meetings what level of commitments.
Where we commit, yeah, okay, now
What commitments have been made, and where do you see the commission going in the two declarations?
Sure. So, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I could say that, I think that, there hasn't been a commitment. We've been exploring, right? And so this exploration portion has been fairly educational. I think the one thing is, the one thing that I'm definitely more committed to is becoming more aware, more educated on natural resource topics. I think that the Natural Resources Advisory Committee is a great place to start, and so that seemed like an easy kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of getting that discussion going. I will say the fire map portion, I personally am very committed to. Just since the time that we've had our last meeting, I've had a great number of individuals reach out to me because now they're realizing that they're not a one-off with their doubling, insurance rates and things of that nature. I think right now it has bipartisan support at legislation to get repealed. The big question right now is, and what they're trying to work out is to not repeal the bill, just repeal the map from the bill, so that the funding for home hardening and community resilience, it stays in the bill, but that the map doesn't. So that's it seems to be some real movement there, which is really, really hopeful. So that part I'm really committed to, because I think that I just don't feel like an inaccurate map based on information that's non-local serves our community very well. So that's one thing. I do want to say on that, in the commissioner comments piece, there has been information uploaded to the website as well as onto our social media for everybody here who lives in the UGB or in an area that may be classified in a risk that you do not agree with. Please still appeal individually by the March 10th due date. I know that the governor put a review of those appeals on halt to find out what legislation is going to do, because if they repeal the map, there's no point. So they're not putting excess work on everybody, but still the deadline is the 10th to get those appeals in. So I appreciate Lynn for all the assistance in putting together the flyer and the bulletin and help getting that information. And there's links to how to do it, links to where to send it, links to find out what your tax lot numbers are, try to make it as user-friendly as possible for you to appeal your fire risk designation. So I wanted to put that out there.
What's the website you go to?
Curry County, I think Curry County Gov? currycountyor.gov.
But how do you navigate it to it?
At the top.
So I think it's actually currycounty.com.
No,
But
Oh, Natasha will give you the,
If you go currycountyor.gov, at the top, there's a resources tab.
oh, yeah, I saw
You click on the resources tab, it says wildfire hazard map, and that has all the information right there.
perfect.
Commissioner Trost, can you just clarify on making those appeals applications? My understanding is you don't have to have all your ducks in a row, you don't have to have attorneys all set up, you just need to get your application made, you can do that stuff in the background.
Correct. Yeah, all you need to do is just basically identify the appeal, state why you're appealing it. You know, you don't believe that you were classified correctly. You've done work that mitigates your classification that wasn't taken into consideration, whatever it may be in your personal circumstance, and then email that off, and there will be time in the future to be able to gather the data. So thank you for that clarification. All right, so that was all my commissioner comments from this portion.
all right, so since Jay answered most of the questions, I will say this, Chris, regarding your question, where I stand, I would echo what Commissioner Trost said. I strongly feel that way as well. My comments tonight were going to be more about appealing in the fire map situation and encouraging everyone to do that. I think it's really important, especially having lost my own insurance. I would encourage everyone to do that. That being said, there is one other thing that I want to comment on, and I'll start by saying this. This is a really different life experience doing this work, and I know some of you in this room, you serve your communities on various boards and committees, and this life experience has been challenging in many ways. And typically, it's frustrating when members of the community, they don't take the time to educate themselves about an issue, or they read something on social media and they come into a public meeting environment and they lash out at us, and they say things that are incorrect, and they say things that are egregiously wrong and not even close to being factual, and then they put it on social media, and then that spreads like wildfire, and then people are in the grocery store talking about how, Commissioner Trost did bad things and said bad things, and none of it was true. But where I'm going with this is I want to thank this community. I want to thank North County. I want to thank the people here. Your comments were professional. Your points were well educated. You took the time to do the research and learn about issues and reached out to us either by email or meeting with us or talking to us on the phone and sharing that information with us. And that's how this is supposed to work. It's kind of what I expected. So I say that because I know there will be people that watch this recording, and I hope this is an example of how to be effective in government and how to make points with us, certainly. And I mean, I learned a lot. We got a lot of really good ideas on future funding. We're going to talk about one of those tonight. And I really want to say thank you. And I don't mind at all when somebody has a different opinion of me. I don't mind when somebody says you're wrong and you're doing something you shouldn't do. I make mistakes all the time, and I appreciate that. But what I really appreciate is the way you guys do it. And I just want to say, on a personal level, thank you for that. It makes everything much easier when you do it that way. So thank you. Jay, we are up to consent agenda,
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
and I will second it. All in favor?
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 2-0. So now we will move into the public hearing amending Article 8, Division 1, imposing transient lodging tax of Curry County. So this is a public hearing before the Board of Commissioners conducted pursuant to ORS 203.045, procedure for adopting an ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll move to open the hearing.
And I will second it. All in favor?
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 2-0. The hearing is now open at 7 p.m. The ordinance shall be read by title only unless a full reading is required by a member of the board.
No.
Section 1, the ordinance shall be known as ordinance number 25-01 and may be cited as ordinance amending Article 8, Division 1 of Curry County Code to reflect an increased transient lodging tax imposed rate. And Section 3, purpose, the ordinance amends Article 8, Division 1, Section 8.01.031 of Curry County Code to reflect an increase imposition rate of the Curry County transient lodging tax. Previously, the rate imposed was 7%. Upon the effective date of this ordinance, the rate imposed shall be 10%. Do we have any public comments? Can I get a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance amending Article 8, Division 1 of Curry County Code to reflect an increased transient lodging tax imposed rate?
I'll move to approve the first reading of the ordinance amending Article 8, Division 1 of Curry County Code to reflect an increased transient lodging tax imposition rate.
And I will second that motion. All in favor?
Yes.
And yes. And I will now close this hearing at 7:02.
I was on that board, transit lodging tax board, a few years back, and I was trying to get, there was a lot of money in it at that time. I was trying to get some of that money more into youth services type of thing here, so that we could have a community that had more facilities for our schools and programs for our youth, like the youth transition program that we did here, cleaning up the town a couple Junes ago, and before that. Anyways, is that a possibility of using that kind of money? At the time, I kept hearing that we can't really improve, the money had to be used for promotion of and only for the promotion of tourism in the county. Is that still the case, or is that?
Yes. So,
That can be used for other purposes in the county, say, improving facilities at the school and,
so, yeah, so let me, I'll answer your question. So, first, wish you would have taken the time to do the public comment during the deal, so.
I'm sorry.
Okay. But the, so transient lodging tax is a restricted fund. It's restricted to tourism and promotion. 70% of it is. 30% of it goes into non-discretionary general funds. So so that's how the legislation mandates it to be used. Now, so I guess the point is there's very little amount that's able to be used for discretionary purposes. The rest of it does have to be used for tourism and promotion. So that's,
But if he's talking about like, like, you're talking about like litter pickup and stuff using kids?
Well, that's, yeah, that was.
So, I mean.
That was something that we did here with,
by,
transition project, which was an ESD program that, it just happened that they had some extra funds. So that made we got rid of all the trash in town. Now, that was a couple years ago, and now we're trashed up again pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's,
It'd be an interpretation. We can look into that and see if there's some flexibility, because it seems like tourists would like to have a clean town. I mean, I thought we could count on the mayor, but it doesn't look like that's working out.
No, it was the county. I went down to the county and went on that thing there for about 2 years. And then they disbanded it, reconfigured it. I don't know what happened there with that.
Well, thank you for the input, and, you know, I think, there's many different ideas about what may be done with this additional 3%. There was some, you know, discussion around the potential for, using, a generous portion towards, grant opportunities, business grant opportunities, you know, for different, purposes of, you know, robust change to business fronts or things of that nature, where you have matching grant, downtown revitalization, things of that nature. So there has been talk about those options as well. You know, infrastructure at their ports, where they're big tourism areas as well. So, anyways, those are some of the pieces that.
But it's not 100% going to the promotion of the,
No.
you know, it's not just a promotion fund. At least at that time, it seemed like it was just for the promotion aspect, like, you know, the different things they do in Brooklyn.
I think we all hope that it's a little more flexible than that.
Yeah, 70-30. And there is some legislation right now, I think, being looked at the state level that maybe reduces those restrictions a little bit to allow for to more discretion. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Does that apply to short-term rentals?
Yes.
Thank you.
Especially, so I will say, like Airbnb and VRBOs are the second largest contributor to the TLT funds for the county.
What's the largest?
The largest is the Beachfront Inn.
Yeah,
So.
and then they was closing in on $1 million in the fund, I think, when I was.
Yeah, it's 1.2.
1.2 now? Yeah, so that's pretty solid, you know?
All right. Any further discussion? All right, we'll move on to 8A, which we changed to the Smith River Expansion Act.
So, question, how come we did take off the Skill Bridge internship? Do we have to approve that?
It did it on the consent agenda.
Oh,
We already did it.
got it.
We
Did I miss that part when we were talking about the
We had to do
agenda?
that because Luke cares so much about his program that we just thought it would be best to get the vote over with
Right.
first, so that he could speak.
So I'm gonna talk about this Smith River National Recreation Area expansion. We met with Senator Merkley's team today. They were trying to brief me on this. I'm a little pretty dense, so I will give some grace to Ann if you have some points that I miss. I'm sure you're probably a bit more educated on this than I am. But I just want to read some of the pieces here. So the purpose of it is to amend the Smith River National Recreation Area Act to include approximately 58,000 acres of federal land in Oregon as addition to the Smith River National Recreation Area, and to designate certain rivers within the National Recreation Area as components of the National Wild and Scenic River System. And essentially, so the Smith River is already designated, and it's already designated up through Curry County. What this would do is essentially put some of those designations on the tributaries in the Kalamiopsis or in that space. So it's already designated as a wilderness. This just gives it a wild and scenic designation, pretty much. The current, for those who this matters to, it does not suppress current mining claims, only the potential for new ones. That's how the act is written. which I think is pretty standard for wild and scenic designations. So that, in a nutshell, is my understanding of this. And it's been 3 years. They've been working to try to get this on. They're looking to present it in another bill, I think, later this week. And so they were wanting to know, we basically would be presented with 3 different options to support it in its entirety, to not have a stance, or to not support. So that's where it's at.
Yeah, and I've tracked that and followed it, but I haven't read the most recent information about it yet. So I'll get it and review it and see what's in it.
So I think what we could do is, once you get a chance to read it, because obviously it was a lot to digest. Maybe what we can do is by consensus, Ted, if you could just get a census of each person's, and then if it is support, maybe we just draft a letter of support and send it off.
Okay.
And otherwise, we would just probably leave it on the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's good with me. And I'll review it as soon as I can.
Okay.
Commissioner, may I ask on that point, would public support help you in making your decision? I don't want to overload your inbox of your email, but if those of us that support that, if we write to you and stating our support, would that help you in decision making there as well?
Sure. I mean, obviously, any public comments and testimonies are important. I think we'd hope to probably have some kind of a consensus by Friday.
Yeah.
To get it out by the end of the week. So just.
And I'll say this about your comment, Brett. I think if government's working the way it's supposed to, then we work for the people, right? So if the people voice opinions and concerns about something, then we should certainly take those into consideration. And if there's an overwhelming consensus that we feel or see, then we should certainly act on that, even if we may not agree with it. But we should be representing the people of this county and their voice. So that's my position on that.
Here. If I may, when Commissioner Trost brought it at the beginning of the meeting, I looked at Senator Berkeley's website. I just searched Smith River expansion, and it pops right up there. A couple of different articles on there, so we can read up on that and support that.
Yep.
Probably just get Ann in a room and you'll find out all more than you want to know.
Any more discussion on that, Jay?
No.
All right, we'll move forward to B, which is adjusting tower fees for Coos Forest Protective Agency. Ted, is that you?
Mostly this is Jay, but.
Yeah, I can hit on this. So, we have Day Wireless, contract with Day Wireless to manage our towers. We created a fee schedule for that, and Day Wireless is working to hold our fee schedule accountable.
And we created a fee schedule because we found over the last year or so that we have a lot of people, a lot of groups that are on our towers that aren't contributing. And so it's.
News stations.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it may have taken one of them catching on fire.
Yeah.
For us to.
Yeah.
To evaluate.
Yeah, there was a fire going on. And one of the communications little houses up on Bosley Butte was on fire when I had forced the road department to go up there during the snow. And
we tried to get up the backside, didn't work.
We were trying to get there, but we couldn't make it. And then we, anyway, when we got to looking at it, we didn't even know whose it was, and it was just a big cluster. So we've been trying to unwind all of that. And this is also like in my history as a private lawyer that I've represented radio stations and other people with towers. This is a problem because you find out when you go to look in your little hut at the top of the hill that you never go to, it's full of a bunch of other people's stuff that they just hooked right into your power. It's crazy. Churches, all kinds of stuff. And I mean, so that happened to the county as well. So we're trying to unwind that.
So when we did, we created a fee schedule, and the fee schedule, in my opinion, was intended for some of the for-profit organizations like the news stations and things of that nature. However, when it comes to like other public entities, you know, we have, for instance, we have an agreement with Brookings, and it's a reciprocal agreement. They allow us on their towers, and we allow them on theirs. That's a pretty simple agreement. This one, there's not much of a reciprocal, but what the idea here is to reduce the fee, the identified fee, by 60% for public entities. So there's still some management fee. We still have to take care of those towers. We still have to keep them solid. So that basically assisting with the maintenance upkeep of those towers is what we're asking, but at a 60% reduced rate for public entities like CFPA. So that's what we have.
And CFPA is running, you know, it's got limited funding itself, but it's integral. I mean, it's not really a part of Curry County, but it's something that we can't survive without. And so we have to support them any way we can. And when there's a fire, they're the people that show up and actually put it out. So I think that's money well spent.
Question. Are the towers revenue streams? Do they break even? What position are they currently?
They generally don't. Historically, that's a good question because I'm still figuring that out because for example, the way this issue was handled was the county sent Coos Forest Patrol a bill for years and nobody paid it. And then everybody got real mad when anybody mentioned it. And so that's just how things don't work. So I can't answer that question. I'm looking forward to finding the answer so that I can determine. It would seem that we should be able to break even on it to the extent we can, because here's the other issue. So all of our volunteer fire departments, all those comms and everything run through these towers, and they don't have any money for anything. So this is a burden that the county does have to bear to some extent. There's no other way to, you know, I mean, when we're talking about volunteer, I remember probably 6 months ago there was a meeting of whatever that group is, the volunteer fire department, the fire department board for Curry County. It's got fire chiefs on it.
Fire Chiefs Council.
Yeah, and so these people show up and they're like, things are really tough because we just got hit with a bunch of mandates that they have to have all kinds of protective clothing and things, new OSHA mandates, all this stuff. There's no money to do that, and essentially if they are bound by those rules, they have to close. So I mean, it's a real struggle. So wherever, you know, and the county, even though these are taxing districts themselves, the county is still kind of I mean, their existence is integral, or we can't have people live here. So it's kind of a balancing act to figure out how to get funding to them to the extent we can.
I understand that, but it seems that your fee structure, by using fees, it's proportional, a distribution of costs that is proportional to use. It's not revenue.
Right.
And that seems a fair way to distribute the costs among entities.
Now, it does, and I agree with you. However, I've also only partially described the problem. And one of the major problems is the way these towers are managed, and that we go to an outside. A lot of other counties around this state have figured out ways to bypass these outside providers who are billing. You know, I mean, they'll show up, but boy, I'm telling you what, they don't show up any too soon, and they charge a lot for what they. Last year when that tower was on fire. Luckily, I don't know if you've ever seen Jared Gray. He's a deputy. He's our forest deputy. He's this big kind of scary guy. asked him to kind of threaten them to make them actually go and get the tower back on. And he's scary. They went up and they fixed it. Because I don't think he was going to let them back down off of Bosley. So, but those, we're looking at that because I really think that we can do much better if we can just reorganize the whole tower system and with better equipment. And also, we have put in for some grant money to like bring that tower. A lot of the stuff that we use is not state of the art. And well, I mean, there are a lot of stories, but like, for example, last year it was on, this happened on when we had all that snow, we have these things called ice shields that they mount supposedly up on top, above the equipment. And if you put the ice shields up, then when the ice falls off the tower, it doesn't destroy the equipment. And we'd been billed for the ice shields, but they were just sitting at the sheriff's office, or the road department. I think they were sitting there. And so we got to buy the equipment several times, because the ice does just take it right out. So we have a lot, we're working on that.
I would like to correct myself, it's the Curry County Fire Defense Board.
Okay, that's what it is.
And the chiefs are part of that.
All right, further discussion on that?
No.
None by me.
I'll move to approve the amending of the tower fees.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Yes.
And yes, motion passes 2-0. Next up is C, discussion Natural Resource Advisory Committee.
Well, I guess me too. So the idea here is, well, okay, so backing up, when I went up to Salem, I met with AOC, Association of Oregon Counties, and their natural resource litigation, their specialist, Brandon, and he brought up the fact that counties that have a natural resource advisory committee not only get good interaction with public, but the advisory committee then has the ability to interact directly with state and federal agencies by mandate. So there's and I was trying to find it in here, and I left it in my office, so I try to recite it, but there's a piece of mandated legislation that says that counties that do have this have, the entities have the responsibility to coordinate with the advisory committees, who then advise the county courts or county commissions. And so the idea here is like a 7-member panel. I think that's the standard expectation, that's appointed by the Board of Commissioners, with hopefully a rounded scope to be able to provide good, clear advice to the commissioners on natural resource topics. So I wanted to just kind of get that out there and discuss it and see if it's something that we would like to look at forming, because it is one of those things where if we are going to form the committee, we do need to, number one, really be diligent, because there's been times where you get so many committees and then nobody ever shows, nobody ever contributes, the committee falls off. You look and you're like, 5 years later, there's like 6 expired terms and nobody's been discussed. And so it's one of those things where
we have that right now?
Yeah, where we have to be committed, to providing the resources, the personnel, making sure that the information discussed is brought back to the meetings to be, presented, things of that nature. So I just want to make sure that if this is something we entertain, it's not just for title purpose only, but for practice as well.
Yep. And I support that 100%. I want it to be something that's representative of all parts of the county. So with as much diversity as we can get in it. but I just wanna make sure that we have equal representation throughout the county, and yeah, I support it 100%.
Well, then we can work towards looking at the committee formation
I can get going on that.
and
You said 7 people? That's typically what it is?
I looked at the other counties that have one established, and they all have 7, so I believe that's what it says is required,
Okay.
is 7.
Let's do it.
Quick question here, Commissioner Trace. Can you tell us any more about the conversation regarding the committee being able to deal directly with state agencies? I mean, what's that all about?
Though I just could say, the way it was described to me by AOC was that when a county forms a natural resource advisory committee, the state and federal agencies, local, state and federal agencies, have a mandated responsibility to include that advisory committee in natural resource discussions. So, essentially they get a seat at the table. That makes sense.
That'll be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that the committee would have a view that's not shared by the commissioners?
Well, I think the committee can have that's always a possibility.
But they're advising the commissioners.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, I guess it would be similar to a budget committee, right? And the budget committee makes recommendations that perhaps the commissioners don't agree with. At the end of the day, the commissioners will vote on whatever the issue is. They may take those recommendations into consideration, they may not, but yeah.
My question though is whose view goes to the state agency that you mentioned here? Commissioner or committee?
The committee is the one that's gonna be interfacing with those agencies, with the state and federal agencies.
Right.
And so that'll be the face. And that, I mean, that's certainly a whole lot more interfacing than we have right now. So how can it be anything but really, positive? And at least, I mean, if you have to bring back the news that they've ordered, that the Forest Service is gonna clear cut the entire county, that we need to know it, right? You won't wanna give that news. But your role, if you're on that committee, is gonna be to bring that, and then say, I think this is a bad idea. I would assume you'd say that. So, but that's how that is gonna work. And right now, there's no nexus between the county and basically any agency. And so I think it's a great idea.
I'm really trying to avoid a town hall here, but
So I want to make a disclosure. So we are doing something that's a little out of bounds normally with public comments or for public comments, and there's no comments during actual budget meeting, not budget meeting. Business meeting discussions. So we're setting a bad precedent, but we've already said it, so we will finish it out for the remainder of the meeting. Just don't expect that kind of reciprocation, I guess, dialogue in future meetings, because it's not always like this.
not always.
Thank you, Commissioner Trace. Just two questions. One, have you had any input yet from the public on the creation of this commission, as in people volunteering ideas or concepts or frameworks? And secondly, I guess to echo the previous comment today about the publication of agendas, early publication of agendas. If you have concepts for discussions at future meetings, for example, ideas you've developed about criteria for the selection process on this, any kind of reports that you'd like to put forward that can inform us as when we come to you with our opinions in the form of a small, whatever, staff report or just an expanded agenda, an annotated agenda with positions or something, that would be helpful. But my question stands, do you have any input yet on the formation of this committee?
This is the first public discussion regarding this topic. So the answer would be not until we've discussed it tonight.
He just heard about it and he brought the idea back.
Yeah.
And he wanted to communicate it to the rest of the commission.
So now you're ready for maybe public engagement and input on it to you, as you have described, Commissioner Alcorn.
Yes.
Discussions, calls, letters. Terrific, thank you very much.
All right.
That's all I had on that topic.
All right, I think that takes us through here. Let's see. Am I missing anything? I believe we're up to 9 now, which is a public safety update. And there is no one from the sheriff's office here to give us an update. I'm going to continue to put that on the agenda, and hopefully we can bridge that gap soon. Update from the Director of County Operations. Ted?
A couple of things. We've sent out an email to all of the departments, notifying them that we'll be meeting, that Nick, the treasurer, myself, and Rabia will be meeting with each department head and going over there. Right now, we're in the process of the supplemental budget phase, before the end of the year. So we're going to meet with everybody. Most of them have their workshop or worksheets. They've already completed them. And of course, in the absence of our finance director, we're proceeding with us doing it. And anyway, it should be exciting. What's great about this year is we actually know how much money we have. So that's a big step ahead from last year.
It's a good place to start.
The other thing that I wanted to catch you up on was when I met with Mr. Miller earlier today, and we were talking about this development. I went out and looked at the ground. We walked around on a little bit. Rabia and I did, and the first thing to do is get it graded. I think that now Garrett, our building inspector, has spent a lot of time working on affordable housing and has put together and got some designs himself that he's interested in promoting on, because the county also owns, we own little parcels of land that have come into county ownership around the county, and one of our plans, if we could ever come up with any money to do this, would be to build like workforce housing to the extent that we could with some of these properties. And all of that involves grant money that, like, for example, the one that's closest to my house, about 6 miles south, it's a place that we took back, and it's a complete DEQ nightmare. And we actually need a grant to be able to get in there and deal with the just horrendous condition that it's in. But these are opportunities. This one is a really clean, nice spot. I think it's going to be great. And I think what we had talked about is building getting a development there that would provide possibilities for family housing and then individual housing. A lot of people that we have come in for various agencies, including the county and others, Forest Service, everybody. There are seasonal workers that come in. Maybe as we look over the length of a workforce house, it's probably not going to be occupied by a teacher the entire time. So we're going to try to plan around that so that we can have it be flexible enough and also available to other agencies. So I think that I just think it's a really win-win for everybody. And I also think by doing it that way, it's going to be appealing as when we're looking for grant funds to help us get to the end of that. And I hate to say it, but I am really excited about that sewer system across the road. So anyway, looking forward to that.
All right. Elected official update. Mayor, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you, commissioners. I'd love to give you an update. We have some just really exciting news in Port Orford that you may have not heard, which is that last year we got a $1.5 million community development block grant to upgrade our community building. And we have citizens that have raised another $500,000 to improve our American Legion Hall and kind of make it into one new complex. And there it is. Yes. And so our exciting news is it's going to go out to bid tomorrow. So we're really moving forward on that this year. And so that's been a really exciting thing. I also wanted to just say that I appreciate the opportunity to work together as cities in the county. I recently sent a letter of support from the city for a jail grant that you guys are working on, and a letter of support for a grant for the Curry Wildfire Protection Plan implementation. And it would be great to be able to ask you guys for support letters for the projects that we're working on too. And so I hope we can continue to work together on solving problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
You certainly can.
Thank you for the letter for the jail. That's the other thing that we're looking forward to. It's big
All right.
steps.
Commissioner update. Jay?
I do have a question, Mayor. Do you mind coming back?
Yes.
So we're all going into budget right now, and I think one of the things that one of the blind spots that we have in the county is that oftentimes we silo ourselves and we don't have a lot of open dialogue about the budgets in terms of maybe there's potential to coordinate, maybe there isn't, maybe there's potential to not resource share, but you know what I mean, like
Yes.
maximize resource. So you're going into budget. Do you want to provide any update on what the budget looks like this year?
For our city? Yeah, we're really in the throes of it right now, and it's looking like we are in the red, unfortunately. We have had this situation over the past couple of years. We got this great, beautiful new update to our highway right down through the Port Orford, and it has made our streets much safer, and it's also reduced the revenue from traffic violations. And as an inadvertent side effect, and you know, we don't usually...
I thought they just got them all trained to slow down. Just saying.
So that's something that we have been grappling with is just like everybody had, the cost of providing services in the city is going up and the cost of revenue is not keeping up. So we're struggling with that right now, just like everybody is. And so we've been looking at the amount of shortfall that we're looking at is probably in the neighborhood of $200,000. I know I look at other places that have much bigger shortfalls, and that makes me feel a little bit better. But we are looking at how to tighten down the screws and how to do revenue generation. I mentioned last time I was going to a meeting that was about that with cities, and one of the top ideas that I saw was what you actually did tonight, which was to raise your TLT amount, and I think we're going to be trying to do that as well. So we're looking at all sorts of small ideas, and we might have to look at some big ideas too, but I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about that. I've reached out to talk to the mayor of Gold Beach about that. She and I have talked about it, kind of, I think, city to city. We share kind of similar structures and stuff, but it might be worth having a larger conversation.
Yeah, okay.
So thank you for that thought.
I definitely believe that there's room for that discussion to happen. I think it doesn't need to just stop at Curry County and our cities. I think, you know, looking at coups and there's so many entities right now that are struggling, that are facing financial shortfalls for all the reasons you just said. It's all catching up. Those who were in financial good standing in the last couple of years were lucky to get through because they generally didn't use their COVID dollars for operations like the county did. That put us in a real big bind early. Most places actually use that for infrastructure, and so this inflation hit them later.
Right.
But I can tell you that, for instance, the school district that I'm the board chair of is also in a very similar financial scenario. And I think we're going to find that many of the municipalities and tax districts are going to be following suit. So, you know, if it broadens the scope of a larger conversation, like, you know, one of the things I keep bringing up is this, like the Southwestern Council of Governments, much like LCOG, where you have kind of shared resources, and those resources might be, you know, all kinds of business entity, you know, to to planning, to building, you know, where we have one main hub of infrastructure that provides the resources out to all the different communities so that we're not all subject to having to pay for it ourselves for each of those things.
Right.
Anyways, I think if we don't have those conversations, rural, local governments are going to have to reinvent themselves. And I think we're going to have, I mean, it's going to force us to have those discussions. So I'd much rather begin that topic of discussion now so we can maybe start planning for what that might look like in the next X amount of years, as opposed to being reactive and having those discussions. So anyways.
Good thought.
But thank
Wait,
you.
I just have one thing on a less serious note. So you could follow the model of Brookings, which is just lower the speed limit some more right in the middle of town till it's you can't even, and you can't anticipate it because it's so slow. My wife was driving through town right after, and she's like, oh, she calls me, she says, there's a cop right behind me, and I was going too fast. But you know who they pulled over? Brad Alcorn. Instead, she called me, they pulled over Brad. Made her day.
That idea has occurred to me, but I didn't think I could actually recommend it, but.
Well, it's working for them.
Update, Jay?
I don't have any further updates.
All right. I got a couple things. For the public, I just want to remind them that we have a workshop Friday. It's at 2 o'clock, Natasha? Friday at 2 o'clock, we'll be discussing finance and the finance department, how we're going to move forward with our budget, what that's going to look like, and how we're going to proceed in the absence of our finance director. So that's at 2 o'clock. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask, Jay, is on our next meeting on the 18th, so we have there's a circus in Gold Beach. A circus.
Not the meeting.
Not our meeting. Not our meeting.
There probably will be one
Well,
when you think about it.
it's a separate circus. Let's put it that way. And the other circus will have like elephants and animals and it's at the fairgrounds. And it's an actual circus that's our fair board, which I'm part of, has been able to pull in. And I think it will be attended pretty decently. Again, there's animal rides and just everything that a circus has to offer. And we have a meeting that night, and some of our staff wants to go to the circus. So do you think we could move the meeting a little earlier that day so our circus won't conflict with their circus? Would you be?
We have our circus at 2
Definitely
o'clock.
don't need conflicting circuses. That's a lot of entertainment in one day. Yes, 2 o'clock.
Should I wear my clown shoes?
No.
Okay. All right.
2 o'clock work?
2 o'clock.
All right, so we'll move that. We'll move that meeting. We'll publicly notice that for 2 o'clock that afternoon. And if you can attend the circus, I strongly recommend it. It should be pretty good.
Commissioner Alcorn, if I made the workshop, will that be at the annex?
At the BOC, yeah. Yep. All right, that's all I have. Anything else, Jay?
No, thank you again for this community's coming out and participating and getting your voice heard. Appreciate that.
No executive session tonight, right?
No.
Okay. So that being said, it is 7:43, and we will conclude the meeting. Thank you, everyone.